Hi, it's me again, as always. So, it's time for a video. I know that I owe you a bonus episode. Well, at this point, I owe you 2 bonus episodes of the podcast. And look, I have excuses. They're not really good. And I respect you too much to just shovel you bullshit. So, I realize it and I'm on it. I actually have the next book that I want to do a bonus episode on. I just need to get around to doing it. Audrey Rose by Frank Defilita. This is funny because it's an old library book. So, do you get, okay, I hate dust jackets on books. I hate them. But if you can get ones that are old library books, libraries will put these plastic covers over top of the dust jacket, and then it kind of sticks on there. So it's really stuck on there, so it's not always flying off every time you open the book. Yay, secondhand books. That's the book that I keep meaning to tell you about. I will get to it eventually. I'm sorry. So, today, I want to talk to you about what I've been watching. So, the last time we talked about this, what was I watching? Oh, Twin Peaks. I was watching Twin Peaks. We are now sort of binging The X-Files. And this is a show, I'm of the age, by all intents and purposes, I should have been watching it in its original run back in the 90s, but I didn't. It's the same with The Simpsons. I just never really got around to watching it. But I watched the majority of the first run of the series a few years ago and was like, why did I not watch this back in the 90s? This show was fantastic. Also, David Duchovny's kind of yummy. But as we're sitting there watching it, they keep referencing all of these covert places, these hidden places in West Virginia. They talk about West Virginia all the time in the X-Files. And I just want to say thank you to Chris Carter for being nice to my home state, because do you guys remember, it was in the early 2000s, maybe 2003, 2004, there was, I can't remember which branch of the armed forces she was in, Army or Marines, one of those, a girl named Jessica Lynch was taken prisoner. And when they released her, it was a big deal. She was from West Virginia. My maiden name is Lynch. So being a journalism student with the last name Lynch, I got so much, are you related to Jessica Lynch? Can I interview you? I'm not related to her. Leave me alone. But what happened was, when she was coming home, all of the big news stations camped out in front of her house. Those places, all of them, went through and found the most colorful people to put on camera. And I was a student at WVU, West Virginia University at the time, and I just remember myself and so many of my classmates just, because we knew they did it on purpose, and it's insulting. They got the old person with one tooth left in their head. I'm just glad they got her away from them Muslims. Not all West Virginians are like that. So it's really nice that the X-Files doesn't do that. I mean, to be fair, they don't really get into the locals too much. It's mostly about, what kinds of extraterrestrial activity they're hiding. But West Virginia actually does. I mean, can you hear that? I hate my neighborhood sometimes. There's a literal dirt bike gang roving the streets. They keep arresting them, but I mean, look, we're all bored. I guess it's fine, but West Virginia. Okay, so what West Virginia has is, I mean, outsiders like to take advantage of West Virginia. There's a long history of it. There's the Greenbrier Hotel that's in West Virginia. Now, it is a hotel, but you probably know it, if you know it at all, as it's got a presidential bunker underneath of it. So in case of catastrophic apocalyptic events, It's decommissioned. It's not the place the president would go anymore, but it used to be under the Greenbrier in West Virginia. But there's a long history of outsiders going in and taking advantage, coal companies coming in and extracting the natural resources and underpaying the miners, and actual literal gunfights and mini wars fought over, unionization and stuff like that. Natural gas companies coming in and extracting the natural resources, underpaying the workers, who are all West Virginian. And now there's the problem with fracking. You get the fracking companies who come in with their water trucks, and they are tricking these people into signing away the rights so that they can come in and blast I'm not 100% sure. I think they're blasting shale with the water in order to extract the natural gas. But none of the people who work for these fracking companies are West Virginian. They were able to get permission to do fracking because they said that they would bring in work. But in my hometown, they brought in workers from Oklahoma. And what they did is they're all staying there until the place is stripped, and they've caused an increase in the rent prices so that the actual West Virginians can't afford to live there anymore. My hometown is a crap hole. They shouldn't be charging that much for rent anyway. But to push the actual residents out, it's no wonder that my hometown has become a meth haven, because all these outsiders keep coming in. They don't give a single damn about the actual place, about the actual people. It's about what kinds of things they can extract from it to make themselves money. It's a long history of West Virginia being like that, which is why it confuses me as a West Virginian, as a left-leaning West Virginian, why more aren't like me. We actually have a long history of being progressive, of being, anti-establishment, that there are so many right-leaning conservatives there now. I understand, with poverty and with hopelessness, there are so many who have nothing left to rely on but their faith. And I get that. I really do. But voting for the party that says it cares about your faith, that it just confuses me. I mean, a lot of people don't like to admit that voting a certain way aligns with certain values or lack thereof. But I can tell you, in my hometown, which was in north central West Virginia, I mean, we weren't super southern or anything, but yeah, racism, yeah. We had a problem with the KKK in my hometown when I was a child. I can't remember how old. I wasn't a tiny child. I was old enough to be able to read the newspaper. The KKK wanted to have a rally on the main street in front of the courthouse, and the what's the not the rulers. I'm stuck on a word. The people in charge of the city and stuff came back and said, sure, you can do that, but you can't wear your hoods, which made me proud of my hometown. But there were also, you had the people going, yeah, you can do it, but without your hoods. But these were local people wanting to hold this rally. These weren't outsiders, and that's terrifying. I remember when I was in college, driving along the road in Morgantown, West Virginia, where WVU is, there was a person in a white robe with the hat and everything handing out flyers. And you saw a lot of people like trying to knock the flyers out of his hand, but you also saw a few people stop and take the flyers. West Virginia's a mess. But back to X-Files. Again, thank you for treating my home state nicely and not taking the opportunity to pick on the locals like they're a bunch of teeth-sucking knuckle draggers. You know what I mean? It's tired. It's worn out. I remember when I was a teenager, I got a guy's phone number, and I can't remember where I got it, but he was from out of state. Not far out of state. I think he was from Virginia, actually. And, he was like, well, where are you from? I'm from West Virginia. Holy shit, do you still use an outhouse? Or holy shit, do you wear shoes? This was in the mid to late 90s. And this guy, he wasn't being facetious. He wasn't picking on me. He was 100% serious. He couldn't believe I had a phone. And this is Virginia, a neighboring state. When I lived in Washington State on the West Coast, there were people who refused to believe that West Virginia was its own state. Western Virginia. No, West Virginia is its own state. Another point of annoyance for me. Every state in the United States, when it is shortened, Virginia is VA. Maine is, what is it, ME? Washington is WA. Texas is TX. West Virginia is the only one that they never stopped doing that horse crap with. It's W.VA. When it should just be WV. But they, like, even the Associated Press still does it. And it's like, stop it. Now, having gone to journalism school, I know that's inappropriate. They keep using that incorrectly. But again, stop. Can we treat that state like it's an actual state? The people within it like they're actual people and citizens? They might behave a little better if you did. Okay, back. I promise this time. Back to the X-Files. So when I talked about Twin Peaks, I talked about the lack of, like, a pissing contest between the authorities. How Gordon and Coop were so accommodating to sharing information with the local police there in Twin Peaks. And I'm finding that it is a different story with X-Files, but it's not the FBI coming in and kind of, flashing their badges and taking over. They do that, but when they do, it's because they were called, and then the lower levels of police are kind of like, hey, you're here to help. Great. There's a lot of patience you can see with Mulder and Scully when they do come in, and the local cops are kind of, they puff up a little bit and they're like, oh, who invited you here? You can see that they're trying really hard to be patient with them. But there is a weird thing with Scully where she will just barge in to an operating room, an emergency room, like a sterile environment. She will walk her little tushy in, not scrubbed, not in scrubs, in her, very severe looking FBI clothing, and start barking orders at these doctors. And the doctors naturally are like, who are you? Get out. And, she's very, she has a reason for it. But are you familiar with the phrase, you got too big for your britches? I feel like Scully's that sometimes when it comes to dealing with doctors, because I get that she's a doctor. She is, qualified to do certain things. She's not qualified to do everything, but she's qualified to do certain things. And when she has information pertinent to saving someone's life, yes, it's important. Please get the information to the doctors however you can. But it's inappropriate how she goes about it. Am I wrong? Because it's just like, you could have relayed this information any other way besides barging into a sterile operating room. Like, I get the sense of urgency, and the writers, of course, got that too. That's why they did that. But, I like that it's a woman kind of overstepping a bound instead of the man. And I think that the X-Files was very cognizant of the fact that they did that. A lot of gender roles are, that's a big bet. A lot of gender roles are reversed in the X-Files. Mulder is the one who's superstitious. He believes, I want to believe. He's emotional. He's the one, we see break down and cry a lot. He gets attached to the cases. And Scully is the very prim and proper one. She is very by the book. She is a very scientific minded. As intelligent as Mulder is, he's still led by fancies. And Scully is too in certain instances, especially like my husband and I were talking, because Scully is religious, And she becomes more so after certain things happen in the show. But she has these beliefs that are not quantifiable. You know, there is no scientific evidence behind them. But Mulder is so dismissive of them. He's derisive of them. He pokes fun. And yet he gets so offended when Scully does the same thing with his alien beliefs. There's no empathy there. Now, I just watched one last night where they visit like a haunted house on Christmas Eve, and the ghosts are trying to mess with their heads to kind of drive them crazy, to talk them into shooting each other. And they tell Mulder that he's a narcissist, that it's important to him that people think the same way he does. And I think that's a point. I think that's a really good point, actually. I just, you know, you would think that he would be a little more patient with Scully and her faith, considering his own sort of fanciful thinking. I don't know. But I really like the show. I still, like, I feel like not enough people talked about it in the 90s. Nobody in my circle, certainly. I don't think anybody I knew actually watched the show, which is weird. As big as it was, they didn't. But I'm really glad that I sat down and discovered it again. And this is my second time going through it. Yeah, I really like the X-Files. What do you guys think? Are you guys fans? Not a huge fan of like the whole conspiracy theory thing, but I'm not against it either. I think we can tend to get lost because you can tell if you binge it, you see a lot more how they can't decide where they want the whole overarching syndicate, military industrial complex, hiding of the extraterrestrial technology. I'm sorry, I'm losing words. But if you binge it, you can see tears in the fabric of the story where they didn't quite know where to take it. Like at one point, Mulder loses his belief in it, and it's, I kind of like the Monster of the Week thing they do every now and then. You know, you get the episodes where it's all about the overarching, you know, conspiracy theory, the aliens are among us, they're going to colonize this thing. And then you get Monster of the Week episodes, and I really like those. A lot of the people who worked on this show went on to work on the show Supernatural. Now, I have had issues with people dismissing the show Supernatural. I know a lot of people, like, I don't actually personally know a lot of icky sexist people. Those people get booted out of my life, too sweet. But I have met a few who are dismissive of it because the stars of the show are cute guys. So they just think it's a dumb show. But you'd be surprised how similar the X-Files and Supernatural can be. Supernatural, they're just now getting ready to end it. That show has gone on forever. And I can tell you, as a fan, that there are many instances where they wrote themselves into a corner. Whole seasons where I couldn't stand the show. But then the next season they picked it up. They fixed the parts they didn't, love. They killed off characters. I really freaking wish they hadn't. I have my desires about how I want the show to end. If you are a fan, and you follow it, I hope they let Sam and Dean die. I think written the right way and given the right circumstances, letting Sam and Dean finally and permanently die would be best. I don't know if they have the guts to do it because it's a gutsy move. But if I were writing it, Sam and Dean would die. And they would be like, carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Where is peace? Time enough for that in the grave, So that's where I want it to go. But having said that, if you're a fan of the X-Files, if you liked it, I really think you'd like Supernatural if you can get around the cutie pies who star in it. It's a great show. It's great characters. Again, they lose their way a few times, but with a show that's been going on that long, it's bound to happen. It's happened in the X-Files, and I'm watching it now. They lose their way. Stick with them. Let them get back on track. You've got to love your writers, you know? So, yeah, I'm really excited. And that's my rambling for today. I am not wine drunk, but I definitely had some wine while I was making dinner tonight. That might be why I'm extra rambling. I'm sorry. So, because I didn't do the bonus episode yet, I'll tell you now. Tomorrow's episode for the main show, I'm going to do the Three Musketeers. I'd never read it before, so I'm doing it now to study up for the show. First of all, it's enormous, but it is Alexander Dumas. This guy isn't fucking around with novella-sized works. Like, you're getting... My First Car is smaller than some of his books, but it's a good book. It's delightful. It's a delightful story, so I'm really excited to, write a case for this and do the episode tomorrow. After that, I don't know. I usually decide what the case will be. So I write and record the episode on Wednesdays. I'm usually deciding what I want the next episode to be on Friday or Saturday before. So I don't know yet. I'm not there. I'm trying really hard to resist the urge to do all scary, all dark. It's like I've wanted to do all Edgar Allan Poe. I wanted to do Faust by Johann von Goethe. Really hard to do. I'm trying because it satisfies my sense of petulance better to not be seasonal with the thing. Like, I may start Charles Dickens finally in December, but it won't be A Christmas Carol. It'll be like David Copperfield or something. I'll do A Christmas Carol in like August. So that'll do it for this story time. I'm going to go downstairs and watch The Silence of the Lambs. We have decided that my 13-year-old may be ready for it. Wish us luck. And thank you, as always, for being here. I hope everything's okay. There, in my social media feeds, more and more people I'm seeing where things aren't okay. And I hope that's not the case with you guys. I hope everything is fine. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with me. And got the remote. I've got to push it twice. So push it once. And then now we go bye-bye. Bye!